Brane X speaker. You asked for it, and a year later, it's actually arrived. Yes, it really arrived 1 year after I asked for it. But hey, I'm not complaining. At $500, what is the price? It's come down a little bit, I think, from when it was originally. It's about 540 quid with postage from Austin, Texas in the USA, or about $500. I think it was about $600 when it came to market. I guess the laws of scale of economy and all that means they can do it a bit cheaper now. It's a startup company. Apparently 15 people working, so there's only so much they can do, because I did ask them about a few issues and they said they're going to address absolutely everything. I think they're starting to address, and they've certainly been a very responsive company to deal with. So, well, they paid you to do this video. No, this is not that company beginning with S, who never either paid me anyway, but this is a company called Brane Audio. You asked me and I asked them, and then they said what, and I said, oh, no, the other way around, and then they said, we'll send it to you, and then any chance now, 1 year later, they actually came through. So, well, first of all, I'm going to say, all the headlines, it's broken the laws of physics. No, it hasn't. Hoffman's high law, of course, was never a physics law. It was something in audio that everyone likes to say. I'm sure there's a lot of people who actually think it's an actual law. It isn't a law, and it's not illegal. Hoffman's iron law, you can have small enclosure, you can have lots of bass, and you can have high efficiency. But you can't have all three of those. You can only have two of those things. And that's the thing. So they say they've come up with something absolutely new. Well, what have they come up with now? Well, they call it RAD. Isn't that what you use for the heating? You use your radiator. No, it's repel attract drivers. Ooh, that sounds good, doesn't it? Yeah. Do you know what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Basically, it goes blinking deep. That's what they say. I'm going to tell you if it really does. They have created an array of magnets, moving and static, built into the voice coil itself, that actually powers the repel attract. It actually powers the in and the out of the driver, along with an air pump that you will hear every time you turn it on. I'm going to turn it on now. Turning it on. Oh, by the way, really annoying. Really annoying. Every time you've got to turn it on or off, you press that button. You don't know what's happened. In fact, I still don't know what happened. It's gone until like 10 minutes later. You hear the air pump going.
Custom EQ.
It speaks to you. You can turn this off, by the way. It doesn't speak to you. But if it don't speak to you, there's no actual.
CS10 Plus.
There's no actual startup sound. You don't know if you, and then you leave your finger on too long, and then I think it resets or something. It's really awkward. They've acknowledged it, and this must be version 1. They said they're going to acknowledge that in a future design or a future product. So it's on the back. There's no feedback. There's a delay in it coming on, for some reason. So the only way to really know, turn your mic off. Turn your mic off, which you should be off anyway. Yeah, listen to me there, and then at least I can see that. Turn off. And then at least you can see.
Pairing mode.
All right. And then at least you can see if it's on or not. That's a long time to tell you I don't like the on-off button, because once it's on and then I want to turn it off, it's hard to know where it is and I've got to turn it. Anyway, enough about that. So what was I saying? About an array of magnets, moving and static, built into the voice coil, along with an air pump that you just heard. That's why I turned it on. It centers the driver. So it's got an optical sensor for where that actual driver is, the front face, the actual moving bit of the driver is, because it wants it central. And then the magnets kick in to move it in and out. It's good going in and out, isn't it? And the point about that is normally all that power is having to be used by the driver itself to come in and out, because obviously it's compressing the air in there and it's pushing air as it comes out. The magnets do all that, so it means all the power that you're using, it's got 4 Class D amps, 200 watts. I'm not sure if it's RMS or not. I don't think they quote RMS. All that goes straight to actually driving the bass, rather than having to overcome some of the physics of actually the repel and attract, as they say. So basically, it thinks it's in free air. There's no resistance as it goes in and out. So many jokes, so little time. All right, that's basically how it's working. It promises extended, deeper bass. It's better than having passive radiators and a port in a small speaker. So this is all about having a small one. Very, very shy company. Are they out? Yeah, they really are. Do you know why? No, go on, tell us. It says Brane X on there. The advertising says Brane X. But do you notice what the speaker says? It says Brane. So they've left off the X. In other words, the X is now an XX. For some reason, they didn't put the Brane. They got their little squiggly line, which apparently is their logo. But it's not there, but it's certainly there as their logo. And yeah, so I just thought that was a bit strange. It's called Brane X, but it's not on the actual front of the speaker itself. Did they run out of ink? I don't know. I don't know where it's made. It doesn't normally says on the speaker where it's made. It doesn't say on this one. But I know the company's in Austin, Texas. Do they make it there? I've got no idea. You could have asked them out. Yeah, I could have, I suppose. A bit late now, isn't it? You buy this because you want an extended one. You want extended deep bass. How are they going to do that out? You've got an 8-inch subwoofer. Think of it as an 8-inch subwoofer. It's actually oval shaped, and it's 6 by 9 inches. And it takes up a third of the actual speaker itself. And there it is on the bottom. They say theirs is a true subwoofer. What do they mean true subwoofer? A little bit of marketing there, really. What they're saying is it's going deeper than an equivalent one would do without their technology in a speaker. It's all about the speaker of that size. And by the way, I don't think this technology transfers to larger speaker. You see it all the time. Let's use it on bigger speakers. I think this, as far as I understand, this is all about having in a small cabinet. It hasn't broken the laws of physics because it basically just made it more efficient. It thinks it's in free air. The app doesn't work if you're not connected to Wi-Fi. I don't know. I think I did ask them. I haven't got a reply. I did ask if there was a technical reason for that. Just no features of the app won't be available to you if you're out and about and not connected to Wi-Fi. And I think it only connects to. It'll only remember one Wi-Fi, and it just makes it a bit awkward to use if you're moving even from place to place that has Wi-Fi. We go into the app, pick out your speaker. So it does tell you about the network, your voice assistant, but basically that's Alexa. Again, I don't use Amazon, I don't use Alexa, so for me, not something I'm using. So in terms of the streaming, as I said, it's Spotify. I don't use Spotify. So you can adjust the bass. We'll get onto the EQs in a minute. You got low, medium, and high. I'm not sure you're going to get this and then want to use low, but you probably will use medium and high. Adjusted LED brightness. And then you got a 5-band EQ. Yes, I've got a V-shaped one there, but I haven't really used it. I've just left it on from when I was messing. So I'm not part of the V-shaped crowd as much as a lot of you think I am. We've got an auxiliary input. It's on the back. You can, well, it does, I don't know if well, it does automatically update the firmware, but there was an issue there. I'm going to get onto that in a minute. Not on the updating, but it supports some codecs that suddenly didn't become available to me. You can reset the speaker and delete the speaker. So, you know, you've got your features there, but it's not here or there. You can do your connecting to multiple speakers, 2 in stereo, of course, and up to 8 in party mode. That's the app. I will show you quickly my frequency. I'm not saying it's the last word in accuracy, but I think they're accurate. And these are my frequency response measurements.
Volume steps are very linear, certainly in terms of the mids and the highs. But big changes, 250 hertz and down the bass region. This is high bass, and it's a massive bass boost, 20%, 40%, and then after 40%, starting to roll off. At 60%, it's quite even, but we do have an ever-present upper bass boost, and by 80%, it's basically limited. After that, it's just mids and highs. According to a bare frequency response, we've got a bit of a rolled off high end, countered somewhat by a peak around 5 kilohertz. But in terms of mids and lower treble, looking pretty balanced. But big changes as you go along the volume steps in terms of the bass. This is medium bass. We still have a big bass boost at lower volumes. Medium bass levels out around 60%, sort of limiting again around 80%. And the low bass, well, there's still a pretty big boost at lower volumes, but all along, no matter what bass EQ you use, you've got a big upper bass boost. In terms of low bass, well, that'll even out around 40%, but it will also roll off quicker. So low bass rolling off 51 hertz, and while medium and high bass does roll off about 55 hertz, relative to the mids and highs, you've still got plenty of bass extension. At lower volumes, that bass extension is heading towards 30 hertz. If we overlay them, we see more or less it's about just a 250 hertz down boost in terms of low, high, medium bass, peaking around 52 hertz, and then they all roll off. But remember, we say roll off is going to be relative to the mids and highs, so the roll off will be earlier on low bass, but very much it's mids and highs only by the time you're hitting maximum of volume. No matter which EQ you use for bass, that bass limits, no matter what EQ you use, near field measurement on the drivers. That subwoofer basically is 300 hertz and down, rolling off, as we've already seen, around 52 hertz, but certainly still playing down to the 20 hertz region. In terms of the mid drivers, basically looking at 200 hertz to 3 kilohertz, and then the tweeters 3 kilohertz and above. The subwoofer, although it does extend deep, it's still mid and upper bass dominant. So you will note, you still get that upper bass kind of boost. I don't know if it's just from the DSP or the fact that it's a small enclosure. So it's not all about, oh, now we've got lovely deep bass and smooth bass. There is an upper bass kick to this. There is deep bass extended that you'll probably not have heard on a speaker of that size before, but it's not like it's the last word in a flat frequency response for the whole of the bass. And it will limit from 80%. And interestingly, of course, all three EQs that they have, low, medium and high, will merge together as you go up in volumes. So the higher the volume, the less difference it will make. The lower the volumes, it will make a lot of difference. And very linear volume steps, so you get a lot of control over how you want it, she said. So the other thing I was going to mention is, when I first got it, I was able to switch between aptX and SBC and AAC, whatever I wanted. For some reason, I don't know if it's auto-updated when it shouldn't have or something, or for whatever, on my phone. It's an old phone. We've got an old phone for, mate. Pockets, not that deep. YouTube, costs me money. Don't make money, costs me money. So I'll get one eventually. The S25 Ultra. I was definitely going to get that. And now I'm thinking, well, they've taken away the pen with Bluetooth. I was going to use that with the shutter button. What's that all about? So they definitely tell me it should support over Bluetooth, aptX, HD, AAC, SBC. For me, I can only select AAC at the moment. And is that because of something about the speaker or my phone? I don't know. I really don't know. What else? Yes, we've got 3 EQs. You already told us that. Yeah, so 3 EQs. Let's compare them. About the 250 hertz down region, and the biggest difference is going to be around 55 hertz. Overall accuracy very good, except that we do have the high-end roll-off as we go into the harmonics. All bass EQs have an upper bass boost. That is always going to be present. The actual curve will depend on the volume you are at, but at 50%, low bass is going to be a roll-off quite early. Around 70 hertz and down, it's rolled off. Medium bass is kind of in line with the original track here. So balanced, but still has a big upper bass boost. And even more so, of course, for high bass, which is all over 250 hertz and down, is a bass boost at these volumes. You'll note
Bluetooth pairing mode.
It does that a lot because I've hit that button. It's very sensitive, but with no feedback. It's the worst of all worlds. Very light touch will engage something you've touched without even realizing it. And of course, very hard to see. Anyway, usability could be better, we noticed. But anyway, accuracy, overall accuracy, pretty good. By the way, if I haven't mentioned it now while you remember, Al, because
Otherwise, you'll come to editing and say, oh, I can't believe I didn't say that. Talked about its bottom, where it's got that think of it as an 8-inch subwoofer in something this compact. Whoa! And it's got 2 tweeters front facing and 2 wide mid drivers. It's a 3-way. Lovely jubbly. So overall accuracy pretty good. Does have an upper bass kick to it though, which is ever present. But it's all about that deep bass. Deep bass certainly does extend very, very low, but it's going to be a little bit rolled off. Medium is clearly the most balanced, but of course it does change through the volumes. I've done this at 50%. A lot of it will depend on how low you're listening, because the high bass at low volume is a massive boost, but you may still like it. Medium will be the most balanced, but if you use low, you'll still get a little bit of a low kick in low bass mode, but it'll roll off quite quickly. So, but then you've got your 5-band slider, which I'm not going to get onto in this video, but it's still not that easy to balance with a 5-band slider, but I'll do that in another video, depending on what happens after this one. So, definitely got bass, definitely got a lot of bass, but it's not about a flat bass. It's still got an upper bass kick, which you may or may not want. Outdoors, obviously, a lot of people do like an upper bass kick. Indoors, this is going to be quite fussy. Spoiler alert, it's going to be quite fussy on placement because of the amount of bass. A lot of high-end equipment are very fussy about placement. Get the placement right, it's going to sound fantastic. Spoiler alert, at certain volumes. So, 40%. Let's do... what's it sound like against the Boombox 3 and your favourite, which is a Harman Kardon Go Play 3? But is that fair? They're much bigger speakers. Oh, all right then, let's do it. It's JBL Boombox 3. Not just the JBL Boombox 3, it's the JBL Boombox 3 Wi-Fi version. It's the Wi-Fi version. For me, it's the more hi-fi version. It's got loads more features. You've got to use a different app from the my normal Boombox 3 has a 700 Hz peak. Other people say this hasn't. Mine has. Sue me, but don't sue me. That would be silly. My favourite speaker, all-round usage to actually be portable for actual multi-genre listening. The Harman Kardon Go Play 3. And how do they compare in terms of price? Because obviously they are a lot bigger. I had my notes here. I'll check them out. Oh yeah. How do they compare in price? So obviously both are bigger. How much bigger? I'll tell you in terms of weight. The Brane X, 3.5 kilos. The Boombox 3 Wi-Fi version, 6.6 kilo. And the Go Play 3, 4.7 kilos. So bigger in size, bigger in weight. That makes it a good comparison. And also price. So say I'm in the UK. I am in the UK. Well, all right. 540 quid, $500. Go Play 3. Look, these, you can get massive swings in price. I'm just telling you the day I sat down and checked the prices, what the prices are. But like the Boombox 3 Wi-Fi version can change by 200, 300 quid. The Go Play 3, $350 today, $295. So $300, 300 quid, sorry, $350 is the cheapest today. Boombox 3 Wi-Fi version, £440, £680. £540, £500. Do you see, depending on what country you're in, one or the other will be more expensive. This is certainly cheaper than the other two. Lowest volumes, there are lowest volumes on this speaker. 40% of this is quite soft, she said. And there are differences in the volume scales on these, because not all speakers have linear volume scales, and this has a very linear volume scale, which just means at different points in the volume scale, you'll be setting them different. I set them to sound the same in loudness terms when you see that one's at 30%, one's at 40% comparison.
Hey man, can I get a favor? Yeah, sure, I know, see you later. Sometimes I just wanna be a hater. Gotta wash down the top 40s with the chaser. Your voice starts feeling like a waiter. Scraping my mind against a cheese grater. Before you go, sir, you have to sign a waiver. That's alright, I'm aware of the danger. You wanna get away, you better get in line. Won't go another day of wasting that.
We're looking at high bass here versus the Boombox 3 and the GoPlay 3. And the takeaway here is it's massive. The bass boost and the bass extension in high bass mode, 40%, probably for a lot of people is going to be just too much, but still impressive. Look at the Boombox 3, which does have the upper bass dip. It's completely dominated in terms of bass by the smaller Brane X. Switching down to the medium high bass will give you something more reasonable, while low bass is going to roll off from about 70 hertz. In terms of these speakers, they're all pretty accurate. Overall, I would say it's the GoPlay 3 that is probably the most accurate. But again, rolling off 60 hertz, while switching down to medium bass on the Brane X will give you more bass extension, but a more balanced sound overall when compared to high bass.
I think it's almost hysterical. Is it? Yeah. And I'm not even talking about, you know what. When you hear in high bass mode the Brane X against the JBL Boombox, it's got boom, 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 boom. Because it almost sounds anemic. It is hysterical. This is doing magical things. We've never seen a speaker this size before, if you've got an ear for it. And maybe you'd only notice in an AB. Why is that out? Because they do tricks. All three of these speakers are pretty accurate overall. But the thing about the Boombox 3, it's the normal version or the Wi-Fi version. It's very, very sculpted bass. They are forgoing some mid bass and a lot of upper bass, you know, away from what is actually in the track. You are losing all that sound to have a big, big, narrow kind of, where is it? It's got a mid to deeper bass kick. Around 55 hertz. That's very typical, 50 to 60 hertz, to have a push it more for JBL. But if your tracks do not have bass there, it sounds weird. And that's the problem with sculpting bass. If all your tracks are deep, and it's a boom, and then the boom, you're going to love it. And you're going to say, nothing can match the deep bass, without realizing until you do an A-B, oh, actually, I can't hear some of the stuff that was actually in the original mix that I may or may not want. But here's the thing. In high, it's so much bass, some people will say that sounds now muddy. Just know you've got 3 bass levels and you can even that bass out. Have a listen now.
I've got no filter, I got no filter, 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 no filter, I got no filter.
To me, there's no real reason other than you just want to quiet listen to use low bass on that, even at those volumes, because you're not getting any deep bass. It's rolling off from 70 hertz. That's not why you're buying this speaker. But medium bass will even out if you want something a bit more even. But if you really want to hear that low end thump, stay in high bass mode. But you may find it's a bit too warm, a bit too muddy. But even medium bass can make that sound anemic. But still, overall, the GoPlay 3 is still a nice multi-genre, pretty accurate listen. But it cannot do the deep bass of the Brane X. They both have something on their bottoms.
Bluetooth pairing mode.
A subwoofer. They say theirs is a true subwoofer. But they are subwoofers. They are literally handling the low bass frequencies. But this one doesn't go as deep, and that means it's not as fussy about placement because you're not going to get the booming nature on the wrong type of surface. Oh, by the way,
pairing mode.
you can adjust the bass on the speaker itself. It's got a bass button.
Bass low.
Just know when you touch it, the first time you touch it, it will tell you what it's already on. You'd have to touch it again
Bass medium.
to change the bass, and that's handy because you can't go on the app if you're actually portable and not on Wi-Fi. You got your Alexa button. It's got 4 mics there, but it's got 4 mics, does noise cancelling, doesn't do phone calls. Oh dear. But you can do your Alexa there, you can turn the mic off, and you probably want, as I said, because that's the only way you know when you've got your hands around the back, if you've turned it on. So that's it, yeah, and plus up, down, and all that. Where are we? We're talking about the speaker, 40%. It delivers. It delivers for some, but you will get your upper bass kick. And I just wish we could narrow that down a little bit. I messed with the app and it's a bit fiddly. Louder volumes then. Now, what about them? Oh, you want to hear them? Let's hear them for me. These are my real, if I'm just having a normal listen in a room I'm listening and I want for a nice, reasonably immersive sound. 70% is where I'm listening on this speaker. And then match to the others. Go.
I wanna flow down. Hands on my hips, got my head spin around. Got you laughing at my brain, I'm a little upset. Can't stop now, no, I'm not done yet. Move like this, I move like that. If you give a little, then I give it right back. Come and lay it on your thick till we say goodbye. Do it up like we only got one night.
Towards where the Brane X is going to limit in terms of bass, and it's a slightly different story now. Even with high bass on, it cannot match the bass of the Boombox 3 Wi-Fi edition, but what it can do is dominate it completely in mid and upper bass, because the Boombox 3 is managing this deep bass, but it's doing it by sculpting the bass. You're losing upper bass and some mid bass. Still, the Brane X is beating the Go Play 3 in terms of bass extension, but this time it is losing out in terms of upper bass. If we overlay the original track, you can see you do get a dip now below flat in that small region. That's how it's managing to get a bit more bass extension.
There's no easy way to say, oh, this is the one and that's not the one and all that. No. Do you know why? The Boombox 3 got a sculpted one. It's a sculpted bass. If you don't have deep bass and there's a lot of mid upper bass in your track, you've had it, because it's going to sound really weird because it doesn't know how to play it. I mean, it's the least accurate of all three, but they're all quite accurate. But this is the least accurate of them all. But to get that bass, and it now outbasses in high bass the Brane X, is doing that by not playing in the mids and highs. It's cheating. It makes it a lot easier. And so you're getting a more balanced bass with the Brane X. You still, even now though, you're losing, what is it, 2 to 250, just a narrow region, but you are losing a little bit of the upper bass. But overall, it's giving you all the bass. And when you do the A/B, trust me, you prefer the Brane X because you can hear what you're missing, even though it's got a bigger, deep bass kick, and certainly multi-genre. You're getting just a more accurate sound. That can sound quite weird because of the sculpting, and because elsewhere it's the least accurate of them all. Again, probably the best balance is the Go Play 3. The most accurate overall, the Go Play 3 for me, but it doesn't have the deep bass of the Brane X. And you do hear it, even though on a graph it doesn't look like a lot. From 70 hertz and down, it's very satisfying, the bass kick.
Bluetooth pairing mode.
See what I mean? In the real world, I'm kind of picking up the Brane X, even though I do love this Go Play 3. I am picking up the Brane X because it's got the low end that I find very satisfying, very satisfying, very satisfying. Yeah. the Go Play 3 cannot do. But it's still a good listen and overall accurate. They're all talking to me for some reason. Everyone's a critic. Did I cover it all? She said, no, that's pretty much it. It's a good listen. There's only so much you can, by the way, the technology that they're using to fool the actual driver to thinking it's in free air. It's all about the deeper bass gain. So you're still limited on how much total maximum sound pressure level you can get out of it. They're just managing to extend the deeper bass, say below 40 hertz, that wouldn't have been there without their technology. Doesn't make it go, doesn't increase the maximum output, if so to speak, overall. And that's why it's still limiting its bass. There's only so much you can do. So maximum volume, flat out. What can it really do?
It's the Boombox 3 Wi-Fi that completely dominates. Dominates in volume, it dominates in bass. It's 4 decibels louder overall than the Brane X, but the Brane X is louder than the Go Play 3, louder by 4.5 decibels in fact. The Brane X is also managing to get more volume. You can see it's the mids and the highs where the Brane X is beating the Go Play 3 in terms of volume. They're kind of matched in terms of overall bass.
It's no coincidence to me that if you graphed these out in terms of who sounds better and who goes louder, the louder you go, the worse it sounds. If you Google it, this is known as the Alan Ross law. So you can have loudness, you can have deep bass, and you can have a satisfying sound. But you can't have all three. You can have 2 of them. And that, using my law, the middle ground then would be the Brane X. So it does go significantly louder than the other 2 on the Boom 3 Wi-Fi, but it sounds horrible, to be quite honest. The most balanced overall is the Go Play 3, but it's blinking quiet compared to the Boombox 3. And then treading the middle ground is the Brane, and it's not a Brane X, it's an X. It's the Brane XX. If they don't want to put it on the front of the speaker, why should we? So that's the takeaway about going loud. It's still producing bass. How much bass is it? I'm just saying. So it's still a little, in terms of the deep bass, it's outdoing the Go Play 3 basically in all the bass, 300 hertz down. It still delivers what it says on the box. If I had the box here, it doesn't actually say we deliver, but on my box, I'd write on it, it delivers more bass than the Go Play 3, which is still, is it the favourite? It's going to depend on what kind of listen I want. It's just, as I said, this is going to be more fussy because of how deep that bass goes. It's going to get more woolly and out of control in a poor placement. If you stick it somewhere like a corner on a really soft surface, that's the worst thing you're going to do for it, because it's going to increase the bass that's already pretty big. I won't get to that. A lot of you like doing that, but you're used to speakers that don't produce that deep bass. But then it's going to become quite, it's got a lot of volume compared to the Go Play 3, but it's doing that because it's not balanced now. It's mids and highs dominated. Well, that's all. That's why does that sound awful? It's just as that little 50 hertz deep bass kick, but then it's all mids. So it's got volume. If that's all you want, job done. But that's more balanced overall. But that has more bass than that. So as I said, it's a sliding scale. You can't have everything in this world. Hands up who didn't already know that. it's a trade-off. But the conclusion is the end of the video. Not even the end. I'll come on to that in a minute. So I really like this speaker. Oh, do the thumbnail. I really like this speaker. You've got to know its quirks. It's not the most usable. You know, it does seem like a version 1, and then other versions they'll probably they'll get it more usable, get it more friendly, and maybe economies of scale even be cheaper. But we've got something. You've got something in this size. There's something to say for all 3 speakers. I can't really say one is better than the other. But if you want a serious listen, pick up that. You'll get more of the music. Like if you like your classical, that's a better speaker. Be slightly narrower, but it's not too boxy sounding because the mids are firing outwards. It's still a reasonably immersive listen, but it could be wider. You can't look. It's Hoffman's Law, but you really can't have everything you ever wanted. Blah blah blah. So you got the takeaway there. Got an auxiliary. They're saying use this as a soundbar, and with that deep bass, for the first time I would say, well, they may have a point, and you can have up to 8. I don't know if you have 8. I saw somewhere something about surround sound. I don't know if it's literally just party mode or a stereo, or can you have some sort of Atmos Dolby surround configuration? I don't know, to be honest. But what I do know is when I did my testing, Samsung S10 is very, very old. I need to update it, I know, but there's always a reason not to. Not least the cost of these speakers, phones now. When I tested I test for lip sync. When I tested this for the auxiliary input, it's 300 milliseconds. I mean, if you're thinking, well, this is going to be a good speaker for DJing or as a soundbar, and you're going to use it via the auxiliary input, it's unusable. I mean, obviously, if you can adjust for the 300 milliseconds, then fine, you're away. If you're DJing or something, it's going to be an issue. Obviously, the massive amount of stuff they're doing in there is adding a huge amount of latency. So that was disappointing, because normally auxiliary, you're thinking, well, it's bypass and everything, 0 milliseconds. In terms of the auxiliaries and all of them, well, that doesn't have an auxiliary. And it's still got quite a bit of lag on the... No, sorry, the Boombox 3 Wi-Fi doesn't have an auxiliary. Does the normal one have an auxiliary? Does it have an auxiliary? And it does have an auxiliary, but they took it away in the Wi-Fi. See what I said? There's always, you can always have 2 of the 3 things and then another one. You can't have everything you want in this life. There's a moral there somewhere, or an immoral. Shouldn't have said that, you get demonetized. Now, and it's 112 milliseconds on the go for 3. So none of them are great in terms of the auxiliary, not least because that doesn't have one. Conclusions. It's the end of the video. What have I not told you? Yeah, it's not really, don't think of it as a boombox. So if you're thinking, well, it's going deep, big bass, it's not really. It's more sophisticated listen. It's actually a decent listen. It's very well balanced. Depending on which bass and what volume, it can be overblown, but you can level that out. But whereas you've got the boom boom, and you'd call that, it's called a boom box. It is a boom box. It's for those people who just want that satisfying boom boom to their house music or whatever, whatever they're listening to. This is, and because it's more fussy, this is a plug and play speaker where this is a plug and think about it speaker. Medium bass is going to give you probably the most balanced listen, and there's not going to be, by the time you hit 80%, it's all limited anyway. Just know those differences narrow, that louder and louder you get. That whatever you do, all the modes will have a bit of an upper bass kick. I would have liked a mode where we didn't have that upper bass kick, but obviously it's inherent in a small package anyway, and they're just going for maximum bass. But still, would have been nice to have. They've got the decent DSP in there, just to have a one button cut to level off the bass mode. Oh yeah, the highs. So to me, in my measurements, you can see the highs from like 8 kilohertz. Oh, there's a little bit of a dip at 8 kilohertz, but anyway, 8 kilohertz and above. You've got a roll off as you enter the harmonics, so it's not that a crucial area, but there is a roll off, and I hear a lot of comments about they don't. The treble could be better, the highs could be better. I put it to them because sometimes I don't know if it's just my unit, or I just put it to them that the highs are a bit rolled off. And they say they've tuned it to be flat at every frequency. and they are responsive. That's always a good sign. But to me, it's not. And when I looked, the only other measurements I could see for it were ratings.com on their measurements. They also show the upper bass kick. They also show that the highs are a bit rolled off. So I was thinking maybe it's deliberate, just to give it. It's all about the bass, and then just make it even a little bit more warm sounding by that downward slope balance. They're saying no, but even my near field shows that there's an upper bass. So anyway, just know that for me, I found a high-end roll-off that wasn't problematic. It's still the highs there, but they're saying it should be flat. But anyway, the app not working if you're not on Wi-Fi, and that's it. And then it's just the comparisons. If you don't like comparisons, that was the end of that bit. But I'll just compare some of the specs. Why not? We've been gone so long. We might as well spend a little bit more time together for about the three of you still here. Oh yeah, no, I've got no multi-point. If I try and select a second phone device, it won't. I have to disconnect the first. So there's no multi-point functionality that I'm able to see on the speaker. That was a shock. The other two support multi-point. In terms of the battery though, it's a 72 watt-hour battery. That's a decent old battery, but then there's a lot of power in the bass, so just know it's always a trade-off. So if you're going to have a lot of bass, you're going to lose battery capacity. They say 12 hours moderate volume. I don't know, maybe they mean 50%, but anyway, so the 72 watt-hour battery compared to the Wi-Fi version, 69 watt-hours, but just 26 watt-hours. In my head, I won't tell you what I was thinking. Still getting comments about battery capacity. You're quoting me milliamp hour battery. It's not capacity, guys. That's marketing. Capacity is the watt hours. Just 26 watt hours on the Go Play 3. They obviously don't want to cut into JBL cells, so they're making it harder for you to go where? Go where, Al? Go on the move, go portable. It's only SBC. I mean, that's, as we know, SBC, so bloody crap. But it does have aptX HD. I couldn't select. I don't think my phone supports aptX HD anyway, but I certainly support aptX, and I couldn't select. The first day I got it, I could select it, and after that I couldn't. But Bluetooth 5.1. I mean, this came out in 2012. They all came out, I think, in 2023. It's 5.3 on the Wi-Fi, 5.2 on the Play 3, 5.1. Obviously, a long time in design. It's a small company. You can only expect so much. They've given us something nobody else has given us. What's that, Al? Did you not watch the video? They've given us extended deeper bass than you'll get on anything else of this size. If your music that you're listening to actually has the bass there, they will get power, charged by power, but it's only the Brane X that has this crazy clunky power brick. The others are just a straight mains lead. Obviously, it's keeping the speaker smaller. I get that. Just would be nice if it was a USB-C, wouldn't it? The other two have power bank functionality. It doesn't have power bank functionality. The only one you can make phone calls with is the Go Play 3. Power specs are more or less meaningless. But if you like them, and I know you do, they do quote RMS. They quote 160 watts RMS. They quote 80 watts or 60 watts, I think, or 200. I think it depends on where you look for what it is, and that says 200 watts. But as you can see, it doesn't really relate to actual loudness. There's so much more to it than power ratings anyway. But that, see, even though mains, Go Play 3, I can charge it at 30 watts. The Boombox Wi-Fi will charge at 80 watts, but this charges at 90 watts. So it's got the biggest battery, and it will charge the quickest. Probably in the real world, will charge about the same time from flat. The only one you can use, do you know what? I haven't tested whether I could drop this in water. I don't know why I put a cross down there. I never actually tested this. You can drop this in water for, should we Google it? I'm just going to Google it. Will it float? Let's have a look. I'm cheating. Add Ross behind the scenes. Right, let's Google it. See if anyone's done a water test. Brane X. Brane X speaker. Float test. My mate Danny Pops, he's done a float test.
So I just let the Brane X here sit in the rain
for
for
put it in the rain.
a couple hours.
Oh, Danny. I thought he was going to drop it in water.
Little air pressure.
No, he didn't. I can't, there's nothing obvious. Okay, I'll have to put it up in the edit. So I don't know if this floats or not. That's not rated for anything. It's not rated for IP at all. The Wi-Fi version is rated IP67. So 1 meter of water for 30 minutes and fully dust proof. IP57, 1 meter of water for 30 minutes, kind of dustproof, but not fully dustproof. The difference between 5 and 6. Let's put it up in the edit. Does she float or not? If I have time, if I can be bothered to do the test. In terms of those drivers, so wide tweeters does give a nice wide sound. 2 20mm tweeters, 2 70mm woofers, and on its bottom, one round 130mm driver compared to this has the front-facing subwoofer, and that is 189mm by 114mm. Also has 2 20mm tweeters that are actually mounted on the mid drivers, which are 81mm. That compares to the Brane X mid drivers that are 64mm. They're smaller. Basically 2 20mm tweeters, the same as all the other two, and the 165mm by 229mm subwoofer, which is bigger than their subwoofer. But they have passive radiators, and that doesn't need passive radiators because they're using their rad, repel, and attract. That could be my motto. I repel and I attract at the same time. I really do. Technology, which is better than having port and a speaker this size, and it's better than having a passive radiator. You would never get it, even with, well, you'd have to have very, very, the cost alone of having passive radiators that can do this would make it impractical. In terms of lip sync, as I said, auxiliary disappointing. For YouTube, also disappointing on all of them. So I can only do AAC. I'm on Android. It's never going to go well, is it? So 100 milliseconds, probably not too bad for AAC on Android. 120 milliseconds, but 80 milliseconds might cut off, which is not great on the GoPlay 3. 200 milliseconds is awful for the Boombox 3. There's no app for the GoPlay 3. The Wi-Fi version, Boombox 3, has 3-band and they have a 5-band. We done it. We did it. It's 1 year in the making. Will I ever do another video? I don't know. Maybe I'll play around with it. That's what she said with the equalizer. So is it worth the money? It is. It is if you want a decent listen. If you're just buying a boombox, it's not worth it. And if it's for a soundbar, well, you're gonna have to use. Well, you've got some decent codecs. Use Bluetooth or auxiliary if you can really adjust for that lip sync. But then it will make a reasonable soundbar. But of course, these are never really for soundbars. You want an HDMI. It's, you know, and you want eARC and all that. So but if it's a little, you've got the ability to use it like that way. For what else is out there, I think it's worth the money. Of all the speakers, I don't know. I haven't tried the Devalier, whatever it is, Devalier, Mania, whatever those crazy price speakers, because they don't send them to anyone like me. But Brane X did send it to someone like me. By the way, without making any requirements, I just asked for the speaker. I said there's a lot of interest here. And they said, okay, we'll send it. They didn't say, we want you to say this. They didn't even say, you know, about, we need to do a review. They didn't make any requirements. I don't want to get that straight. I want to get it out. They didn't make any requirements at all. They didn't even ask me what ideas I had. Normally, these companies, if you ask, they will still say, well, what are you going to do? Obviously, you're going to do a review. But they want you to say, oh, and I'm going to compare it this way, and I'm going to do all these fancy things in my garden, and all that, and all that, and all that. They didn't ask me anything refreshing or what. That company with an S, who shall not be mentioned ever again. So that's been my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I don't know, you tell me if you got to the end, and I hope you really did get to the end. So will we meet again? Honestly, I really don't know. I have to see how I feel after this. And thanks for watching. That's all she said. Did she say that? No, I wasn't just watching, but anyway, yeah, that's the end. Thanks for watching. I hope you got something out of this video. Just know it's a thumbs up from me, but just know, fussy with placement, not a boombox. It's a serious speaker, and it's already got very deep bass. If you start doing things that to reinforce that bass, it's going to get out of control really, really quick. And a lot of you, there's some people out there that think room acoustics means absolutely nothing. It's quite shocking. Actually, they will say, well, nobody listens in a decent room. It doesn't have to, just know, the room acoustics, adjusting room acoustics doesn't have to mean sticking foam or fiberglass or whatever all around your home. Your own furniture, clever use of furniture will do the absorbing or breaking up of the standing waves and stuff like that. So, but it becomes, if you've just got an echoey mess of a room, that some people who do reviews think, then of course it's not going to be pleasing to your ears. If you have a decent room, or you know about how the room will affect a speaker, you'll get the most out of the speaker and it will sound really, really good. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again. Bye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
What the was that?
It comes from China. China.
My speaker's got deep bass, balanced mids, and a bright high.
Yes, mine sounds exactly the same.